Thank you for listening to The Luminous Mind, episode 114.
In my philosophy and what I teach people is I get to a point with people where I say, I don't care what's true. I care how you live when you believe it's true.
Benjamin Franklin once said, "Do not curse the darkness, rather light a candle instead." If you're ready to set your mind on fire, then prepare yourself for the Luminous Mind with your host, Rebecca Bowman.
Today's Firestarter is Nancy Rae Allen. Nancy Rae is a confidence and assertive expert. Her vivacious, cutting-edge talent has inspired thousands. As an international speaker, thought leader, and mentor, she transforms individuals and businesses worldwide. Nancy Rae specializes in identifying and breaking through the blocks that keep women from owning their worth, achieving their dreams, and creating massive success. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you.
It's so fun having you on. I love people like yourself that inspire others, like your bio said, to break through those blocks and, to help people really come out of who they are. So I'm excited to talk to you. Do you want to briefly tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am married. I've been married 5 years. I have an almost 4-year-old daughter.
Oh, wow.
And hobbies, I love working out. I love being out in nature. And I've actually been pursuing this career as an international speaker since I was 12 years old.
Oh, how fun. That will be fun to learn about later.
Yeah.
Let's kind of go into that, I guess. What did your journey look like that kind of led you to do what you're doing now? And how did you find that mission?
Yeah. So when I was 12 years old, my parents got a kind of explosive divorce. And it was like an atomic bomb went off in my life. And I was confused. I had all these questions. I was hurting. And I like to say that fate knocked on my door in the form of a personal development book. As a 12-year-old, reading this book that's all about empowerment and the power of your thoughts to create your life and things like that, something in me just kind of like a switch was flipped and I just sort of lit up, and it was like it was calling to me. And I became obsessed with personal development, and I started going to seminars and trainings and workshops anywhere that you could get somebody in that was my age, and just hungry to learn. And that's when I decided that I was going to be a motivational speaker. I was going to raise awareness about these principles of empowerment and, thinking positively and all that good juice, that I was going to share this with the world, because I realized at that adorable age that if everybody on the planet took this personal accountability and realized that they're creators and realized that they have the power to choose, that we have a completely different world. And I decided that I was going to be the one to change it.
That is great. So like the inspiration, it came from pain? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Like the pain that you had there?
Absolutely.
And then changing that around. What were some challenges that you kind of had along the way? And then what did you learn from those?
Yeah. So along the way, it was pretty interesting to see how I handled my parents' separation versus my siblings. I found personal development and I found clear, defined principles of truth and empowerment. And my siblings did not. And all 3 of my siblings developed addictions, some to certain behaviors, some to, chemical dependencies. And that created a lot of pain in our home. I had a brother that was in and out of jail all growing up, drunk driving, scary accidents, it wasn't a very fun home environment for a lot of my really developing years. And it was very powerful for me because I was able to see the difference in the life I was creating and in the life that my siblings were creating. And the only difference, and this is what's so important about education and people really having awareness, is the only difference between me and my siblings was that piece. That I was aware that there was a different choice, that I was aware of, tools to keep me on track and to keep me positive and to help me forgive, forget, let go of the pain of the divorce, let go of, losing, my father leaving and all of those different things. And they didn't have those.
Wow. So is that when you talk about in your bio, breaking through those blocks that keep us from, really owning our worth, you saw that firsthand. And then what did you learn from that, from being able to break through those blocks? And what would your advice or, where would you start with that?
Yeah. Honestly, my philosophy is really grounded in just that, in worth. And I don't think fear is the number one thing holding people back. I think it's confidence. Because when we're fully confident, really believing in our worth, and worth meaning, deserving and worthy of all good things, worthy and deserving of abundance, joy, fulfilling relationships, amazing health. When we really are confident in our worth as a human being, fear is going to be there. But it's the small little naggy voice in the corner versus this big, huge wall or mountain in our face, because it's like you become bigger than the fear. You grow stronger. Everyone else wants to focus on making your fear smaller. I say just make you bigger, and then you can just step over it.
Wow. Well, and you see that in different, we all have read like the articles that talk about, the person that was homeless or that came from the drug abusive type home and ends up going to Harvard and all of those things. When you talk about the confidence, sometimes I want to know how you develop that confidence. I mean, that does come from a place of awareness, but, when we say we make it bigger and step over it, I mean, how would you address those people that maybe are having a harder time, of doing that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So there's a lot of different components and layers and levels to confidence. And at the core root of confidence is identity. So it's how you're identifying yourself. And that's all based on stories and experiences. So if this is why, especially for Christians, and I'm a Christian, but when people believe that whole concept, I am a child of God, and that's what they take on as an identity, that can become a very powerful, motivating, driving space to draw confidence from, right? You're claiming this space of being a literal descendant of an all-knowing, all-powerful being. And in my philosophy and what I teach people is I get to a point with people where I say, I don't care what's true. I care how you live when you believe it's true. So, hey, maybe you are a loser. Great. How do you live when you believe you're a loser? Guess what? You act like a loser. You think like a loser. You show up like a loser. Great. Okay. So let's lie to yourself and let's say you're freaking awesome. Maybe we're lying. But if you believe you're freaking awesome, guess how you show up? You show up freaking awesome. You think freaking awesome, and you do freaking awesome. So it all comes down to your beliefs and what you really want. And there's a time for pity parties and there's a time for sappy stories about, and I want to validate them. We all have a story of people being in our face, really challenging us in our worth, that we're not good enough, or we're fat, or we're dumb, and there's incredibly abusive situations out there. And I want to validate that pain. And it's only true if you believe it is. You're only worthless if you believe you are. And beliefs are something you can absolutely change.
Well, and, you hear the line all the time, like fake it if you make it. Do you believe that's really true, that you can kind of fake it? Or do you have to have more of that internal belief? And I've met hundreds of people now, all different religions, all different backgrounds. Some people are not religious at all. But everybody I talk to has some sort of they feel inspired by some sort of inspiration that drives them forward. Mm-hmm. Is that true in what you're thinking, or?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's a great question. So back to that, when you're looking at confidence, there are multiple layers. So with the whole idea of faking it till you make it, I teach 3 main layers, but for the sake of this discussion, we'll just talk about 2. So we have the internal confidence, which is the belief, and then we have external confidence, which is like the illusion of the belief. And we all know of that person that's incredibly cocky. Maybe they walk with a little bit of a swagger, and you really get to know them and they have a horrible self-esteem.
Yeah, they're really not authentic.
Right. So they're soft on the inside, hard on the outside. They look like they're really confident and capable, and inside they feel worthless. But the truth is, the way that we hold our physiology and our body actually releases certain chemical triggers. So when we stand upright, when we smile, when we lift our chin up, and get it out of our chest so we're not slumping and everything like that, and that's sort of faking it, we actually release chemicals that help us to feel more that way. So I kind of have a 3-step approach with people when I'm working on their confidence. But if we're just looking at these 2 main areas, it would be, while we're developing inward confidence, let's put on the confidence, illusion on the outside. And then you're working from the inside and from the outside, and it happens, the transformation's much quicker.
Wow. So there really is, like, even though you're faking it, when you're taking on that body image, like you said, there's some sort of like physical chemical reaction going on.
Absolutely.
So it's really not faking it because that's going on, correct?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I have never heard that before. That is very unique. So great. So tell me, one of the things I really like to learn about is how your paradigm changed over time and with experience. I'd love to hear kind of how that's happened. Was it a quick evolution? I mean, you said it was a very explosive divorce. I would imagine there would have been some sort of evolutionary period or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Life is pretty amazing that way. And I love this discussion of paradigm shifts because I continue to have them over and over again. And every one is like this new level of expansion of my mind and my learning and my actual skill set to bless and help people. So the way that it's changed, honestly, one of the main things I've discovered in this journey of personal development and growth is that success isn't sexy. It really isn't. Success isn't created in any area, in a relationship, in health, in all those things. It's not created by one big grand gesture or event. It's created by day in, day out drudgery. And I think that's a really important paradigm that people need to talk about more and more, because there's so many people who think they have to be perfect and they have to be amazing and that every day has to be, a 5 gold star day. And it doesn't. Success is created by getting up every morning and brushing your teeth, flossing your teeth, putting your pants on one leg at a time and staying at the grind. And just because success isn't sexy, it's not, shiny and amazing, doesn't mean it can't be fun. I say create fun in everything that you're doing. But that's the number one thing I think that people don't realize. Yes, meditate. Yes, journal. Yes, read books. But we often think, oh, I went to a seminar or a training or I listened to a podcast. My work is done. And it's never done. And you never arrive. It's never over. There's always one more battle, one more victory to claim, one more. There's always something more. So find joy in the journey. Know that it's not going to be sexy. It's day in, day out, monotonous things performed over and over and over and over.
Oh, I love what you're saying, too, because sometimes when we don't feel like we're fitting into that perfect mold of whatever we have in our mind, it's very discouraging. And so knowing that it's a day in, day out, and how many of us look at people who have been through just horrible things. Like I said, the person that's grown up in this despicable circumstance and ends up going to Harvard, we all have huge admiration for that because, that wasn't sexy, like you said, but yeah, I love what you're saying about just doing stuff, even though it may not be in your heart and soul at that moment. So
absolutely.
That is great.
I heard a really great quote the other day that I'd like to share. It said, do what you should do when you should do it, whether you want to or not.
Yeah. And when we look at that over time, we feel that growth, going on. At least that's my experience. That is so amazing and great. Hey, so let's talk a little bit more about, as you said, you started as a 12-year-old wanting to do the thing that you're doing now. Let's tell us what you're doing. You're speaking, you're a thought leader and a mentor. I'd love to hear kind of more about what you're doing.
Yeah. So my main message of empowerment, and this is what it's been since I was 12 years old, because I was in this situation where I was feeling a little bit like a victim, like poor me. We had this beautiful storybook life, and then, tragedy strikes and it's horrible and wah, wah, wah. And that's the age when I realized I could either choose to be a victim or to be empowered. And that's the choice that we get to make every single day over and over again in lots of different areas of our life. So I'd say the foundation of my message truly, outside of just, owning your worth, is really be empowered. Own you, own your life, own everything that you're creating, whether it's beautiful or gross at that time in your life, whether you're thrilled with your finances or not. Own them and stake claim to them, because when we play the blame game, when we get in victim mode and we get in things like that, we have no power to change. When it's not our fault, why would we change? Because we can't make it better. So it's always about, and I like to use healthcare as a great example, the third leading cause of death in the United States is actually medical errors. And bless, doctors and hospitals' hearts. It's not a job or responsibility I'd want to have. They're doing the best they can with the volume of care they're trying to provide to all the people that are coming in and out of their doors. But a lot of people go to the doctor and they hand over the control of their health totally to somebody else. And they don't stay as an active, empowered decision maker. So even if their gut's telling them, wait, maybe ask another question about if this medication works with your, birth control or whatever, they don't, because they just sit there and are just these like little robots doing exactly what they're told. And oftentimes if people would just be in a space of being an active participant, participating in their own rescue and being empowered and being a decision maker, they could partner with their healthcare provider to create solutions for themselves or their loved ones. On the other hand, most of the time it's, I'm stupid, right? They have this story, I'm stupid, I don't know enough. They're using all these big fancy words. I don't know what it is, blah, blah, blah. And they don't ever sit in a place of being empowered and being the chooser of the experience.
Yeah. Well, and thinking about healthcare too, there's so many people that just want to go to the doctor and get an easy, quick fix pill. I mean, that's kind of our society, right? That we want it to be easy, and kind of going back with what you said before, that sometimes working through those challenges that isn't easy at the time. Like for instance, if your health issue is the fact that you have to lose weight, you really can't do that healthy in a quick fix, right?
Right, absolutely. And that's a great example. I also love to talk weight loss. I like to use these examples and apply them to other areas of our life because it just makes the concept easier to really digest. But with the losing weight, a lot of people are like, okay, give me a pill. I don't want to change my lifestyle. And, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. You have to be willing to do that. So when it comes to what I'm doing now, it's truly a message of empowerment. And the area I'm currently working like a mad woman in is the area of financial fitness. Empowering people to say, you know what, get back in the driver's seat of your financial destiny. Quit, ignoring it, brushing it under the rug. Quit handing it off to your spouse or your parent or your in-law or your financial planner. That's another place people go and say, oh, it's too complicated. I don't understand it. Let me just give it to you. And they give away their power of choice. No one cares as much about your health as you do. No one cares as much about your finances as you do. You need to stay an active growth partner in creating the life you want. So right now, a lot of my educating, training is around that and saying, all right, let's get back in the driver's seat, America. It's time.
Yeah. Well, and everything in our life connects, right? I mean, if whatever you spend your money on is also a reflection of what's necessarily going on the inside of you, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the same way with your health. I mean, once you get your finances in shape, sometimes that spawns a desire to get your, physical body in shape too. So let us take a minute and hear about our sponsors. Changing a paradigm takes some study. But like me, you are probably super busy. That's why we've teamed up with Audible. Go to our website, theluminousmind.net. Get a free month of Audible with 2 audiobooks, thousands of titles in exchange for only books that you absolutely love. You too can be learning on the go to keep that fire burning.
And soul. Fingers become mere extensions. Hands, only servants. To a vast, silent source. Unseen, yet irrefutable.
Welcome back to The Luminous Mind with Nancy Rae Allen, a confidence and assertive expert. One of the things, too, that I want to hear, so you offer these services. We've talked about some of the services that you offer and some of the things that you've done with clients. What successes have you seen with working with others with this message?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's pretty powerful. When we get into this space of really owning our life, every area begins to just expand and open up in a big way. So I've taken clients, one gentleman, this is my favorite success story. He was providing a service, I forget what it was, but he was marketing like a membership. And he was getting about 2 to 3 people a month to commit to doing it. And he was really struggling. He was wanting to do, much better numbers, at least double that. And we started working together. And after a 2-hour rocket launch session where we were just really digging into, owning his worth and feeling valuable and just getting back in the driver's seat and, just getting him really kind of pumped up, he ended up getting 10 of those memberships in 24-hour period.
Holy cow. Wow.
It was crazy. And that was one of my favorite stories because it was such a small compressed amount of time where you could see a result like that. And honestly, what's got me moving into this area, back to mentioning the financial fitness of wanting people to be empowered in that area, is a lot of my clients are network marketing leaders and their teams. And I was working with a woman and tripled her monthly income. It was so fun to watch because in network marketing, you can do that. There's a lot of leverage, and she was working off some promotions and really, empowering her team. And it was really exciting. And there was all this momentum, and I was feeling so great helping her do this. And she pays me for her coaching for the month. She slides a check across the table and says, "Can you hold this till next Friday?" And I was like, what? What? Like, I know what we've created for your family. I know how things have shifted. I am like so excited for you. And I realized as a coach in that moment that I'd failed her in one area of saying, like, you need to be financially fit and you need to be empowered and aware and managing all of these new resources that you're receiving from your business, all this new money, this new revenue that's coming in. And that's what got me really shifting my focus, because I realized so many of us make decisions based on that. Wow. So the foundation of, am I going to eat organic, not eat organic? Well, what does it usually come down to? Money. Am I going to get braces for my kid or not? What does it come down to? Money. Are we going to go to college or not? It comes down to money. And I just see this huge need. So many people blame money for their problems rather than owning it and getting empowered.
Yeah. Well, and don't you feel like it's kind of a perpetual circle? I mean, I've heard some people like you have to spend in order to make more money. But really, like you were saying with that one guy, maybe it comes down to more of your mindset versus having money, which is expending money, which is taking care of money,
Absolutely.
So it's kind of this rotating circle.
Yeah. And, Tony Robbins says that, 80% of success is psychology, 20% is mechanics. And I found that to be true in working with people. So you have to have the mindset piece, like with confidence, we really have to work on the inside. That's about 80% of the job. And then the 20% is the mechanics. How do you stand? How do you hold your body? How do you communicate that confidence to others? That's the easy, fun stuff. It's the psychology usually where people get hung up, but you have to have both. You can't just have airy-fairy, sit and think about manifesting abundance and it shows up. You have to have both. You have to have action as well, right?
Yeah. I love what you're saying, because I've heard so many stories about the salesman who can't make the sales because he doesn't have the high dollar mindset. He's a $15 an hour salesperson working with people who are making, millions, and he has a difficult time, launching and selling to that because he just can't get to where they're at. Do you know what I mean?
But he can't mentally comprehend it.
Yeah. But when he can, I've worked with other people that maybe they're not at that scale either, but their mindset's there, they're
absolutely
not physically there, but awesome. That's great. So tell us a little bit more about your mentoring and what you've learned from other people as you've mentored them.
Yeah, great. So first of all, I want to say that it's so important that we always have mentors. If you're going to be a mentor, you need to have mentors, and you need to surround yourself with a variety of mentors. Not all mentors that you're paying, because sometimes the fact that you're paying a mentor can affect a little bit about some of the advice as well. So I make sure I surround myself with friend-tours, if you want to call it that, people that I highly respect, that I want to become like, that can rub off on me in a really great way. And I think I am at my best self as a mentor when I am being mentored, obviously. So it's kind of like the dentist that never goes to the dentist. You have to make sure you're being mentored. And you can be mentored by audio CDs and by books and all that good stuff, but surround yourself with those people so that as you are speaking with someone or mentoring or coaching a client, you are like a library of resources, of tools and information. You can guide and direct them where they need to be. So that's been really powerful. What I've learned from clients and in coaching, I've really learned a lot about human nature. And as someone who's been pursuing this since I was 12, it's safe to say I'm a little bit unique in that I have a very strong drive. I'm motivated. Accountability partners are good for me in some areas, but for the most part, I don't need accountability to just get stuff done. There are other people that aren't as driven that way. It's slightly a personality thing. It's slightly the way they were raised. But I've learned a lot about key components that need to be built into a plan for change. If you don't have strong accountability in place, if you don't have simple, actionable items in place, if you don't build it with a habit, meaning you put in a trigger, a routine, and a reward that motivates the individual to stay on task, all you're doing is just preaching to them and entertaining them with your fluffy words of how to change their life.
Wow.
So you need to have a real plan and a real system in place for them. And I think that's one of the most powerful things I've learned.
Yeah, that you can't try to change somebody's mindset without already having done that little bit of homework that's required.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Well, and the best mindset changes, we know this, like the best way to really learn and have that paradigm shift is to experience it, to actually live it, implement it, and see what happens. For example, the first time I started investing money in the stock market and I understood this concept of money working for you. People had told me about it for years and years and years. And the best way to create wealth is to, through investment income. I didn't understand the principle until I made my first money from my money, right?
Yeah.
And then I couldn't even sleep the next night because my brain, I literally had this paradigm shift going, oh, like my money works for me. It goes and makes me money and I just sit. So when I'm working with clients, I try to, as best I can, I don't like to just sit in an office. I'm like, all right, there's a field out by where I live. We have to drive about 20 minutes where I'll take clients and I'll have them actually implement the things I'm talking about, whether we're doing a releasing exercise. So they're throwing and breaking things, or whether they're, screaming out, affirmations or declarations about how wonderful they are. We do something to really integrate it into their body so that they've experienced it. And it's not just this concept that's written on a paper.
Like something that you see on your mirror or something like that.
Yeah, they actually feel what it does to their whole energy system when they follow through.
Oh, that sounds so neat. That's awesome. So talking about resources that you need to educate yourself, I mean, you really talked about how important that was to just constantly be educating yourself. Do you have any recommendations on maybe books that you could read that have been the most influential in your life?
Yeah, so it would depend on the area of what we're talking about, but just a really, really powerful book, regardless of your belief system, whether you believe in God or a devil or anything like that, is a book by Napoleon Hill that recently came out. It's called Outwitting the Devil. It's probably been out like 4 or 5 years. Oh, really powerful book. Oh, it's good. It's really good. That's a good one. Remembering Wholeness by Carol Tuttle. She's out of Utah, Salt Lake City area. It's a really good book. And then, Think and Grow Rich. That's a classic. And As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. If you haven't read those, they need to be like number one. If we're talking about financial fitness and being empowered, really recommend Tony Robbins' new book, Mastering the Money Game. So there's some good ones.
Yeah, that's a great library. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what habits, we talked about standing up straight and all that stuff, but what habits in your personal life do you feel are the most helpful?
What habits to implement in your personal life? Okay, let me try to think outside the box because there's a lot of things that people have probably heard. I really recommend you have a morning routine and an evening routine, even if it's only 15 minutes, something that you do consistently. I would try at least sitting for 3 to 5 minutes, just breathing deeply, calming your mind and oxygenating your body. So many of us live in fight or flight mode all of the time. We don't actually breathe deeply and oxygenate our body. So we're just shallow chest breathers. Take a moment. And some people can't meditate. Breathing is meditating. So just focus on breathing deep for a little bit. Kind of quiet your mind for a minute and get centered. Doing that morning and night, there's so much research out there about how even 3 minutes can totally change not just your emotional state, but actually the physical composition of your emotional bodies. So recommend that highly. Something else, get good music in your life. People don't harness the power of music. Right now, if we could, through this podcast, turn on, some sad, sappy song, we could take everyone who's listening to this and bring their energy way down and make them feel sad. And because just the beats and the rhythms and the words, and it changes your whole mood versus turning on, Eye of the Tiger or some pump up song, right? Your whole energy shifts. And if people would realize, the quality of your life is the quality of your emotions, right? How you feel. I don't care if you're living in a mansion. If you're depressed, you have a horrible quality of life. So turn on music, have music in your environment that uplifts you, that inspires you. Get it in your vehicle, get it in your kitchen when you're doing your dishes, get it around your family. You can totally change the mood of your life in a quick way. So those are two fun ones.
Yeah, I was just thinking, just had an experience myself. We went on a trip to Italy, my family and I did, and I felt really bad that I couldn't take them to like an Italian opera. It was just way more than what we could afford. And so one of the places that we were staying had some CDs. And so in the morning, I would wake them up that way. I'd just turn it on really loud. But my 16-year-old was like, I really love that, which really shocked me because he's not an opera listener mostly, but it really did make a difference. And he'd get up and, there was no teenage grumbling going on. He really liked it. So
that's amazing. That's pretty funny, actually.
So that kind of goes along with what you're saying.
Totally. Absolutely.
So great. All right. So do you have any long-term goals for yourself? And if you could leave a legacy, the beginning of the call, what you were saying just reminded me of legacy, that daily grind. Sometimes we are living out our legacy every day. What is your legacy?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's a powerful question for people to consider. What is it that you're leaving on the planet? And I recently went on a trip and I was going to be gone for 2 weeks and I was leaving my little girl, and that's always hard. And my husband was traveling with me, and I had this, worry thoughts, these fear thoughts that are rooted in just stupid places that we all have come up sometimes. And one of them was, what if I die? Like, what if we die and our plane crashes in the ocean? And I was thinking about it as I was leaving. I was like, what would my last words be? And I realized that I wouldn't have any because I live it. I live my last words. And I don't think anybody close to me or anybody that's my message has touched at all would wonder. And, maybe the question of what my legacy would be better asked by the people who know and love me. What I would hope it is that you are good enough, exactly the way you are, in all of the broken ways that you see yourself, and all the imperfections. You're good enough and lovable. You're perfectly where you're meant to be right now. If you just wake up and realize that the world, the universe, is conspiring for you, not against you. Even the crappy things that are happening in your world that seem so depressing and so hard and just make you wish you were never born, even those things are for you, for your good, if you open your eyes and receive the gift. All the crazy crap that happened growing up is what has made me who I am today. I wouldn't change a single thing. And most of us say that, right? In hindsight, old people look back and say, I wouldn't change a thing. So why don't we embrace some of that hindsight right now today and say, you know what? Life is crazy awesome, and I'm going to live every minute of it. I'm enough, and I'm grateful, and just be.
Oh, that's a powerful message. Thanks so much. Before we say goodbye, do you have any maybe final parting words for our listeners? And then please give us your contact information, how we can get in touch with you.
Yeah, so my parting words would be just own it. Own your creation, your body where it is right now. Just own it and embrace it. Your finances, own it. And as you own it, stop blaming, pull the power back in to yourself. You're able to find solutions, to make better choices. When we know better, we do better. And if you've done stupid stuff with your money or with your relationships or with your health, hey, get over it. You didn't know any better. And the more you know, the better you do, and that's okay. So be a forever learner. This podcast is a great place to spend your time. Stick around here, listening and learning so that you can really be educated and be empowered. The way you can find me on my website, nancyrayallen.com. I'm all over social media. My home base on social media is Facebook right now, Facebook, Instagram. Depending on the time of you listening to this recording, Facebook could be overrun by somebody else, but those are the places you can find me.
Well, that's great. Well, I have been so inspired by you, Nancy Rae, and I really appreciate you coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on our show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Luminous Mind. To learn more about Nancy Rae Allen, go to our show notes at theluminousmind.net. Be sure to become a subscriber to our free email list and consider joining our program by going to the scheduling tab to become a fire starter today. Help support the podcast by making all your Amazon purchases through the free Amazon widget on our website. Also, sign up to receive 2 free audiobooks from Audible at theluminousmind.net. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Google+, and now Pinterest. Get our audio content by subscribing on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. To help us grow, consider telling your friends about us. Leave us a review. Tell us how we can help you so together we can continue to light minds on fire and change the paradigm of education.